In today's show, the Blazers hang tough with the Thunder behind a big second half from Anfernee Simons and some nice minutes from Kris Murray. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. Coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, Blazers hang tough with the Thunder. 2 meetings this week with 2 of the best teams in the West, and the Blazers were right there in it. When it got down to crunch time, clutch minutes against 2 of the top teams in the league, came up short, but the type of games with this team and the roster and the state it's in, you can say, hey, they played well, and you don't really need any more caveats beyond that. We'll get into that game. We'll talk about Anfernee Simons, who had a really quiet first half because the Thunder just made sure to take him out of the game. And then I thought he got going and kind of continued a stretch of him playing well. We'll talk about that. Talk about Kris Murray, who got the assignment on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and held his own, or at least continued to show the outlines of the player he might become in the future. And then we got to close the show, little injury updates for you, the news from the pregame. Spoiler alert. Scoot might be coming back real soon. Look for it. That's what we'll do to close the show. First, let's do what we do. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose 128-120 to the Thunder. This one looks like it might be troublesome early on. Blazers trailed 17-6 and 21-8 in the first quarter. It's like, oh, this could be one of those nights. You know, this is the fourth meeting between these two teams. The first game, the Thunder shot 10 million % from the floor and rained down threes and just blew the Blazers out of the building. Then the Blazers lost the game by 62, trailed by 62 after 3 quarters, the largest deficit after 3 quarters in the history of the sport, or history of the modern NBA, as tracked by Basketball Reference. Oh my goodness. And then they played them tough in a game that came down to the final seconds and Chauncey Billups got ejected. So 2 wild blowouts and a game that they could have won that was in the balance with, under 15 seconds to play. And this one looked like it was going to trend towards the first couple blowouts, and it didn't, because the Blazers kind of settled themselves, found a rhythm. Jeremy Grant got going, which helped them kind of do what they needed to do in the fourth quarter, or the first quarter, and they end up down just 5, 32-27 after 1. Hang in there and throughout the second quarter, and they're down 65-57 at the break. So many free throws in the first half, 36 free throws. The Thunder do a good job of getting fouled. They don't take threes, but they do get free throws. They're one of the best at it in the league. But there was a lot of free throws for your boy to watch in the first half, 36, and you too if you watched it as well. Blazers played a great third quarter. Anfernee Simons comes out, has 15 in the third. More on him in the second segment, but this game was there for him. They cut it to 2 in the third quarter, and it was like, okay, hey, this is going to be a game. But Thunder pulled away at late third quarter to push it back to 10, 87-97 with heading into the fourth. But Portland didn't. They had so many opportunities for the Blazers to kind of just buckle, right? Because the Thunder are really stinking good. They're 43-19, 42-19 when the game started, I guess. But this is a team that's going to finish top 3 in the West, maybe the number 1 team in the West. They're just exceedingly good. There were many opportunities for the Blazers to let go of the rope, and they did not let go of the rope. And all of a sudden, with 4 minutes left, 4:05, Matisse Thybulle hits a 3 from the left wing, and it's a 2-point game, 112-110. Blazers come out of the timeout. OKC takes timeout, and they come out of the timeout, and Chet gets the ball inside and gets fouled. That's Chet Holmgren, rookie, playing his first season in the league. The foul was called on Jabari Walker. I think, as a side note, I'm pretty sure the foul was on Jeremy Grant. So that was Walker's 5th, and he eventually fouls out a couple plays later. But I'm pretty sure that foul was on Jeremy Grant. Chet splits the free throws. Jabari Walker misses inside in the trees, kind of a driving layup where he tries to put it over the length of Chet Holmgren, and it just doesn't work because Chet Holmgren's so long and big. OKC comes the other way. Jalen Williams hits a 3. J-Dub hits a 3. Blazers turned the ball over, really bad turnover from Kris Murray, just kind of like thought he was going to throw it to the corner and then hesitated and then kind of just like threw just a nothing, just slipped out of his hands, kind of nothing pass to the sideline. Thunder go the other way, get to the free throw line again, and J-Dub splits a pair of free throws. And so just like that, a 2-point game is a 7-point game in a minute, and that's kind of the difference right there. And the Blazers and OKC holds on for that 128-120 victory after building that 7-point lead. 2 opportunities. You miss a layup, turn the ball over, OKC just enough better than you to hold you off. 128-120, that's your fastest recap in the West. Quick to the box score. Anfernee Simons had 29. Blazers, all 5 Blazers starters finished in double figures. They had 6 guys in double figures. Matisse Thybulle had 16 off the bench, 12 from Kris Murray, 20 from Jeremy Grant, 16 from Duop Reith, 13 from Delano Banton, who had a nice second half after a quiet first half. J-Dub, Jalen Williams, 31, 21 and 14 from Chet Holmgren, 19 for Josh Giddey, along with 6 boards and 7 assists. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's just like... I don't think he'll win MVP, but I think he will finish top 2 in the MVP voting. I think he'll be the runner-up to Nikola Jokic based on the sort of my reading of NBA media. But he certainly could win the MVP. He's excellent, and they're excellent, and he had 37 and 5 assists, and he doesn't make threes. Like, he just had like a cool 37 and 5, and he went 0 for 3 from 3. He's impossible to guard, and he knows what he does, and he's a challenge. And all of those things, like the Blazers, Jeremy Grant comes back in this game, and Matisse Thybulle returns in this game, but they're still playing without DeAndre Ayton, and they're still playing out without Toumani Camara. Malcolm Brogdon is more on him at the close of the show, but it's like he seems like he's a ways away from coming back. Shaedon Sharpe might not come back at all this season. Like, they're banged up, but like the players who would play, Toumani Camara missed this game with an illness. DeAndre Ayton's dealing with a hand sprain that's now caused him to miss 4 games, so we'll see on his potential return. But like, Blazers playing shorthanded in this game against one of the best teams in the league, and they just hung with them. Like, there have been times this year where I've sat down on this microphone and I'll say, it didn't look good, but I'm not saying that this game. I thought they just played pretty well. Offense wasn't a problem for the Blazers. They shot 50% from the field. They made 14 threes, 14 of 34. That's over 40%, 41% from 3. The Thunder took 12 more free throws than them. It's kind of where the game is won and lost. But the Thunder are one of the best teams in the league at drawing free throws. Shai both gets an incredibly good superstar whistle and is maybe the best player in the league at drawing fouls. He's an elite. He just has all of the craft in order to get to the free throw line, and that's kind of your difference. I thought, a couple more free throws because the Thunder are good at it, and a minute stretch in the fourth quarter where you cut it to 2 and you miss a layup and turn the ball over. You're playing super young. You're playing, you get Anfernee Simons and Jeremy Grant back in, so you have some competent good offensive players to like kind of help hold things up, and Ant was so good in the second half that really, really, really helped. But like, I don't think there's any, and I think I've said this a bunch now. In some ways, I'm kind of like bored with saying it, but I thought they played well. I thought this was a game to feel pretty good about. In some ways, I think there are some fans who are like, "This is the perfect developmental win," and I'm not quite there with it. But like, you play well and you lose, improve your draft stock. But I don't think this game needs caveats or needs you to squint or like I'm going to have to do what I've done, like I said on the shows in the past, where I'm like, hey, they did lose by 22, but if you look close, like you don't have to look close. They played well in this game, and one of the big reasons they played well is because Anfernee Simons had a monster second half. And I think it's important that he had a monster second half because he had such a quiet opening 2 quarters. Let's talk about that in the second segment. Anfernee Simons he went from kind of, hey, where's Ant to, oh, there's Ant in a hurry. And he kept this team right in the mix, continuing a trend of playing well of late. And the Blazers desperately need him. He's been putting it together. Let's talk about that in the second segment. But first, I want to tell you about the new lineup of SUVs from Nissan. If you're the kind of driver that likes to push things further, or someone who wonders what adventure could be right around the next corner, our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. like the 2024 Nissan Rogue. It's perfect for city drives and great escapes. Got class exclusive Google built right into your always updating assistant, so you can call on for almost everything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, Google Play Store are built right into a 12.3-inch HD touchscreen, an infotainment system that is always updating to give you everything you need, from music to maps, to tell you where you need to go and what you're driving past. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. What about the Nissan Pathfinder? The 2024 Pathfinder has room for up to 8 and expansive cargo capacity and advanced available 4x4 capability with 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds towing. When adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. It can take all your friends and all your gear and get you where you need to go, and you'll look good doing it. Take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com. All right. Anfernee Simons took 4 shots in the first half. 4 shots in the first half. I was a little worried about Ant because not necessarily the points. Like, he had 6 points in the first half. The offense was kind of flowing. Kris Murray had 10 in the first half to lead all scorers. Jeremy Grant had a nice first quarter to kind of get them going. But the field goal attempts is more troublesome than the total points, right? If it's just the way Anfernee Simons is an impactful player is that you feel him on offense, right? Like, is that you have to deal with him. And the Thunder were dealing with him, right? Like, they're putting Lou Dort on him, and Lou Gentz is strong as heck. He's built like some like to say middle linebacker, but I like to say fierce fullback. Built like a fearsome fullback, and is just he's really physical. He's just an excellent defensive player, and they face guarded Ant when they put Cason Wallace and took Lou Dort out of there and put Cason Wallace, the rookie, in there. He face guarded Ant. Like, they said, even when you're off the ball on the weak side, we're going to be up in your grill and denying you touches, and it's just going to be anyone else. In the first half, Ant kind of let it be anyone else, and he had 4 field goal attempts, and that worries me, not because like I have a Anfernee Simons shoot the ball agenda, but because, like I said, like, he's probably he is their most dynamic available offensive player. He's probably their most dynamic offensive player, period. He's the player who demands double teams. He's the player who demands to be guarded the way he gets guarded. And he has struggled in 2024. And to have, he was really good in the fourth quarter against Memphis. He had a really nice night against Minnesota on Monday. And then it's like to follow it up with just like kind of an anonymous first half. I was writing in my notes like, uh-oh, uh-oh. And then the third quarter happens. And mind you, like the Blazers are in this game. So Ant, it wasn't like Ant had four field goal attempts and the Blazers are down 22. And it's like, hey man, why didn't you jump into the fray? It was like, it's an 8-point game and Ant has 4 shots. And it's like, okay, well, they got to get him going. And then he gets going and he just gets hot. And he didn't have those crazy inferno nights, right? He didn't have one of those nights where it's like he just had 22 in 8 minutes. Oh my gosh. But in the third quarter, he scores 11 points on 4 of 7 shooting, hits 3 of 4 threes, off the dribble pull-up threes, 2 of the 3 makes. He had 2 assists. He has, 7 shots, like basically doubles his field goal attempts in the first 10 minutes of the third quarter. And it's like, okay. And the Blazers are in it. And they actually, during that stretch, Ant, because he got hot, helps him cut it to 2. And then the Thunder have to treat him differently. They weren't sending hard traps at him in the first half, but they were showing him bodies and then kind of recovering. When he starts to get hot, then they're showing bodies. Like, then they're really, really trying to take him out of the play, and they're doubling him way up high, 40 feet from the rim, or the defense is fully out there face guarding, right up in his grill, 40 feet from the rim. So the Blazers have either 4-on-3 advantages or 4-on-4 advantages, and it's just like the 4-on-4 like opportunities, and it's if it's equal, it's not an advantage, right? But it's like they could let him go. or the Ant commanding attention allowed the other guys just like, yeah, let him go play. He has 11 in the third quarter. He has 12 more in the fourth. He finishes the second half with 23 points on 8 of 15 shooting, hits 5 of 9 threes to go with 3 assists. He played 21 of the available 24 minutes. Like, he sits to open the fourth quarter and then checks back in the game. It's a 10-point game and helps lead the Blazers charge over the next 6 minutes to cut the lead to, over the next 5 minutes to cut the lead to 2 with 4 minutes left. And then they, a turnover and a missed layup. And that's kind of the difference in the game. Ant was so darn good in this game. The only difference was that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 15 in the third quarter. So Ant has, Shai had 16 in the first half. He had 15 in the third. He finished with 21 in the second half. 21 of his 37 come after halftime. Ant had 23 of his 29 after the halftime. But I think to me, one of the notable differences in this game is that the Blazers didn't try to double team SGA the way that the Thunder tried to double team Ant in some ways because of personnel. To me, I think once Shai got cooking, I think you send 2 to the ball. And eventually in the fourth quarter, they did start sending 2, and they said anybody else can beat us. And Gordon Hayward had a couple off of broken plays, and J-Dub had a couple off or scrambles, I should say, not broken plays, but after double teams, you move the ball out of the double team, you got to scramble to recover, and both those wings kind of took advantage, and Hayward certainly was the biggest benefactor late in that game, attacking and getting jumpers off the bounce, or jumpers off of scrambles. But I would have liked to see the Blazers maybe send SGA a double team a little bit earlier. It wasn't the game changer, but I thought he did such a good job of drawing fouls, particularly saying, "Oh, Kris Murray, oh, Ryan Rupert, come on, come get it! Come, you can't guard me." And then eventually, when those two got in foul trouble, it was Anfernee Simons, and particularly when there was Simons guarding SGA to send a double team. You can double team Anfernee Simons because the Blazers don't have a ton of shooters and they don't have a ton of playmakers. The Thunder both have shooting and playmaking, so if Shai gets off the ball, you have players who can both make plays off the bounce and also shoot really well. The best shooting team in the league in terms of 3-point percentage. They're not a huge high volume 3 shooting team, but they make them. It changes the calculation a little bit. I still probably would have liked to see them send 2 to Shai earlier, but I understand necessarily why they didn't. But the Blazers are not in this game without Anfernee Simons, and this continues a trend. He's now, obviously the second game in Memphis on Saturday, it took him a little while to get going, but he was really good when they needed him, and they absolutely have no chance of winning that game without his excellence in the fourth quarter. He was straight up really good against the best defense in the league on Monday, 34-14, and then he follows up with this game where he finishes with 29-5. This is the Ant they need. I mentioned it in a show last week. The Blazers, this was Friday's show last week. We're now a week away. Am I taking credit for Ant playing better? Hell no. But I will say that I kind of circled hey, Ant has struggled for 2 months. They can't afford any more of this. And he can't afford any more of this. Regardless of what happens, they need the best version of Anfernee Simons. Since then, after he had a stinker on Friday in Memphis, but since then, 3 straight games where he's put together where it's oh yeah, I remember this dude. He's a really good offensive player. They just need to keep it rolling. And tonight against OKC, he kept it rolling. And after a game plan that was designed to take him out of it in the first half, he made sure that they could not take him out of it with 23 in the second half. 11 in the third, 12 in the fourth. Once he got rolling, once he was I'm confident, I'm hot. Then then it's oh yeah, Anfernee Simons, good at this. And they just need more of it. This isn't necessarily a victory lap for Ant. This is hopefully the beginning of a long race. This is lap 4 of 500. He's got to keep, they have 21 games remaining after this. They need 21 more good Anfernee Simons games moving forward because to be competitive, they need him. And regardless, for everybody's sake, they need the best version of Anfernee Simons moving forward. Okay. Kris Murray got an opportunity in this game, and I thought he had an inspiring effort against one of the best players in the league. Plus, we'll talk injury stuff. Is Scoot coming back this weekend? It certainly sounds like it. Let's talk about that to close the show. First, let me tell you about Gametime. Look, we're not going to know whether Scoot Henderson is going to play either of the weekend games. Blazers play Friday and Saturday, and we're just straight up not going to know whether Scoot Henderson is going to participate in those games probably until right before tip off. So Chauncey Billups for a 7:00 tip off. He'll talk to the media around 5:15, around 5:20. You'll probably see the tweets coming out saying Scoot's available, or maybe he won't be available. Maybe he'll be a game time decision. So then it'll be even later. It'll be like 6:30 when they release the official lineups for the game, 30 minutes before tip off. You'll be like, Scoot's available, and then you can run to the Gametime app, the number one spot for last-minute tickets. So even if you wait till 6:30, that's how good it works on Gametime. They are the app designed to get you tickets right up to the start of the event. Even after the game starts, you're going to find last-minute tickets. It's the number one spot for last-minute tickets, and the Gametime guarantee means you always get the best price. So if you do end up finding tickets in the same section in the same row for less money, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use that redemption code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. First play of the game, Thunder come across half court. Defensive assignment goes to rookie Kris Murray. On Monday night, well, it didn't work out like that because Ant Edwards didn't start the game because he lost track of time. But when Anthony Edwards is in the game, when he comes across half court, who gets that assignment? Kris Murray. He's been getting those opportunities. The Blazers, playing without Toumani Camara in these games because he's been out with an illness, are leaning on another rookie to guard the best players as their point of attack defender. I think it's kind of cool this Blazers season that their best two options as point of attack defenders are Murray and are Kris Murray and Toumani Camara, two rookies, 23-year-old rookies, but rookies nonetheless, guys who are playing in their first year in the league. This season is about what's next, and giving that opportunity to guys because both they are your best, because they deserve it, and because it helps them grow into what they're going to be. It's like it is doubly beneficial. Last year, they relied on Jeremy Grant to do that all the time, and he was terribly out of place in that spot. Matisse Thybulle is a really disruptive defender, but asking him to be a point of attack guy takes away his best gifts. You get less by asking him to do more. You make him as an off-ball defender. That's when you get the true gifts of Matisse Thybulle. So the rookies are getting the opportunities, and without Toumani Camara in the lineup, it's going to Kris Murray. Murray had 10 points in the first half, scored most of his points off the dribble, attacking the rim, which you really like to see because we haven't seen that sort of variety in his game. He's pretty good going to his left hand if he can get to that side. It's just he hasn't always attacked with purpose getting to that left hand this year, and he got into the paint and scored off the dribble a couple times early, hit his only three-pointer, which you like to see because he's struggled this year shooting. But he had 10 points, led the Blazers in scoring in the first half, but he also had 3 fouls, and he had to sit a little bit in the first half. And then he comes in to start the second half. And he's again on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and about a minute and 45 seconds into the second half, into the third quarter, Thunder are inbounding the ball from out of bounds, and Murray gets called for an off-ball foul, or a pre-inbound foul on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he was holding him. It was clear as day it was a foul. And he has to sit. He has to sit for an extended period of time, and he's now picked up his 4th foul. And when he gets back in the game, he picks up a 5th foul. Because Shai is really hard to deal with, and Kris Murray is really physical and really handsy. The best part about his game, I've said this a bunch. If you're an everyday listener, you've heard me say this before, but shout out to my everydayers, but I thought Kris Murray was going to be good on offense and bad on defense. That's kind of what I had assumed he would be. He's been really competitive and effective on defense, and all of his positive plays, the things that you see him do and you're like, oh, that could help in the future, are all defensive for the most part. It's like he has some real chops and some real interest, and he's just a straight up good defensive player. He's not like, he has the makings of a good defensive player, I should say. He's probably still a young player who's learning the craft, but he has, like, you can just see he knows how to play defense. He knows how to play defense. But the scene that sticks out with me, he's now picked up 5 fouls, scoring, he had 10 in the first half, just 2 in the second half, and he's kind of quieted down. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has now taken, by my count, 255 free throws in this game. He's working them. Whoever it is, Anfernee Simons, you're getting a foul. Ryan Rupert, you're getting a foul. Kris Murray, you got 5 of them. Nobody, Duop Reith, you come over and help. You're fouling me too. Like I'm going back to the free throw line. So what he does, he's an artiste in terms of drawing fouls. But Chauncey Billups has given Kris Murray at this point a directive. He's saying, when you're guarding him, you're shading him. You're giving him an angle and saying, I'm going to try to influence him right or influence him left. And he's closing out without his hip square. And Billups has been saying, when you close out and when he's coming at you, square him off. Like make sure your hips are totally square with the court, like perpendicular to the baseline, because we don't want him to use those angles. We want him to run into you and then have to make a decision. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander drives down the left-hand side. Kris Murray stands him up, and Shai does what he does. Stops, pivots, looks, and a lot of times he'll use that to kind of pump fake, keep you guessing, and then draw another foul or get a little great touch mid-range jumper off. But this time he has to kick back out, and the Thunder end up turning the ball over, and the Blazers take a timeout. And Chauncey Billups pops up off the bench and comes and smacks Murray in the chest and says, "That's exactly it. That's what I've been wanting you to do." And I asked Billups about that moment afterwards, and he just said he was so proud of Kris because he's given Kris all of these tough challenges. He keeps giving him the toughest assignments. Kris wants those tough assignments and has accepted them and says, asks for more when he gets them. And that because Shai is so hard to guard, he was struggling with it, and he not only does he take the direction, he implements that exact direction with 5 fouls, stays competitive, stays physical, cuts off the drive, takes the contact, did exactly what the coaching staff wanted to do, and forced the Thunder to rotate that ball out and eventually turn the ball over. Billups was excited about it. I asked Murray about it after the game. He didn't even remember it, did not recall it. But he said he wants the assignments. He wants the challenges. It's what he wants. I asked him if he kind of envisioned this. And he said he didn't know if he envisioned it, right? Because going into the season, he didn't know what his opportunities were going to be. But he's always wanted this. He's always wanted Anfernee Simons Anthony Edwards on Monday, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on Wednesday, and whoever you want me to guard on Friday and Saturday, give me the toughest assignments. What he's always wanted. Says he holds himself to a high standard, but it's been easier now knowing that he's going to have a spot in the rotation. He's going to have some playing time, that he can go out there, be as competitive, be as physical, and knowing that he can make a couple mistakes and learn from them and be a better version of himself by learning from them. And I thought that scene in the fourth quarter, when Billups got so excited about the way that Kris played defense, really speaks to this whole season, right? It's young guys learning on the job. It probably wasn't the plan to have them all learn on the job the way they have, but it is the nature of what this roster looks like right now, and Kris Murray's making the most of it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 37. He made more than half his shots. He got to the free throw line 12 times. Superstars are going to get what they want. He's one of the toughest covers in the league. But Murray got the assignment and improved at it as the game went on and took the coaching and got better. And that's exactly what you want to see from a youngster. Okay, here's the news you need to know. This happened pre-game. Chauncey Billups gave an extended injury update on everybody. The two big ones, though. Malcolm Brogdon is... He's kind of trying to ramp up his activity according to Billups, but he is experiencing some discomfort in his elbow. That doesn't sound good. Based on what the Blazers, their press release that had no information about a timeline, just like, yep, he's doing more. We'll tell you more later. bye. And then Billups, saying that Malcolm got PRP injections to kind of help the elbow, and now that he's still experiencing discomfort, this doesn't sound like someone who's particularly close to playing. I'm not going to make any bold predictions, but if Malcolm Brogdon's season is done, it wouldn't shock me. Just because of the way they've handled the injury news and this current update. Certainly, I think they're going to be cautious and they're not going to put him out there just for the sake of putting him out there. And as you get deeper into the season, there's less value in putting him out there, period. But this update did not sound promising from Billups. Doing more, but still experiencing discomfort. He's not going to play with elbow discomfort this year. He's going to have to be 105%. It's not how percentages work, but you know what I'm saying. Didn't sound like a good update from Brogdon. Scoot, though. Scoot sounds like a good update. Scoot Henderson's getting close, doing more. Went out and worked out, got an actual workout in before the game, like the type of workout you do when you're ramping up to play basketball. And Billups said he's hopeful that Scoot Henderson will be back on the court this weekend. Blazers play Friday against the Rockets and then Saturday against the Raptors. And I did a little journalism here in the locker room. Scoot Henderson's sitting there. He's chatting with Jeremy Grant. Then he gets up to leave. And I said, Scoot, are you going to play on Friday? This is how, folks, this is how it's done. Ask what you want to know. And Scoot Henderson said, Friday? And I said, okay, Saturday then? And he kind of smiled and then walked off. So he didn't give me an answer. But reading the stupid tea leaves and knowing that it's his return after a 2-week absence and a back-to-back, I think Saturday sounds like a lock that Scoot Henderson will return, and Friday seems less likely. Obviously, they're being super cautious with Scoot. Chauncey Billups said as much, right? That's frustrating as a fan, but if you can just say, yeah, that's annoying. If he comes back Saturday against the Raptors, that would be 20 games. You get 20 more games of Scoot. It would make the end of the season feel a whole lot better. Is that little bit of journalism when I asked him in a sort of informal setting and he kind of smiled? Is that any useful information? No, it is not. So don't go running with it. But I will say my read of the tea leaves is that sounds like Scoot, if I had to guess, and I don't have to guess, I am guessing right now Saturday Scoot will return, but I think there's certainly a chance that he will play Friday. But if I'm betting here that it's Saturday, we see Scoot back in action for hopefully the final 20 games of the season. Okay, tomorrow's show's a fun one. I got a story about Jeremy Grant and how he became a better shooter. The art of becoming a better shooter and how it relates to a bunch of players on this Blazers roster who would love to become better shooters like Jeremy Grant and earn themselves $200 million, plus some thoughts on Ryan Rupert. That's what we do. 5 days a week wherever you get podcasts. Come back tomorrow to hear that one. I went to the locker room. I came out with a Friday show. So join me in tomorrow's show, and we will talk. I will tell you all about it. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.